Anyway, that is the backdrop for an improving job situation in general that the president is expected to crow about tonight in his State of the Union address, including the labor report for the last month that showed the unemployment rate itself going back to levels when Richard Nixon had become president. Art Laffer wasn't even born at the time, but the former Ronald Reagan Svengali joins us right now to weigh in on all things State of the Union, all things Jerome Powell in this conversation coming up in Washington. I'm curious, Art, the job backdrop here. The administration rightly will crow about the fact you can't have a recession when better than 500,000 people find jobs. I get that. But this constant sort of bloodletting and job dismissals that are continuing throughout. What do you make of it?
Well, let me just first correct you if I can, Neil. I was in the White House with Nixon in that period of time. So I go back way back. That's all right.
You look so young. You look, but go ahead.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I was George Shultz's right-hand person back then.
Okay.
You know, when you look at it right now, I mean, the economy, the last month's jobs report was great, phenomenal. I think that also helps Powell. I know Powell doesn't believe it does, but that jobs report with 500 and some thousand on the household and 800 some thousand on establishment or vice versa, it's just a great jobs report. Average hours were up and all of that. When there's an increase in the supply of goods and services, that tends to pull down inflation, not cause it. Putting people back to work is not inflationary, just for the record. And also, if you look at it, the numbers that are dropping off, the CPI numbers year over year, are going to bring that number down quite dramatically over the next 4 or 5 or 6 months. It's going to be quite a dramatic drop. So the background here for Powell is very good. The background for Biden is very good. My question, I ask, is why does Powell take this occasion just before the president's State of the Union address this evening to have an interview with David Rubenstein? That's confusing to me.
Yeah, I was told, I'd asked that same thing, that this was arranged long before we got the date of the president's State of the Union plans.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's accurate, but that's what I'm hearing. You know, we're watching the Fed chairman right now with David Rubenstein. We're monitoring what he's saying. But I wonder what he is going to make of what the president will likely be talking about, including plans for quadrupling this 1% tax on stock buybacks that he wants to see, and a further tax on billionaires. In other words, he's going to go there yet again. That's a tough thing to sell right now, but your thoughts?
Well, you know, I don't think that Powell should go there. I don't think he will go there. He's made it very clear recently that he's going to stay in his own lane, Neil, and that means controlling inflation and doing all he can to help the economy. I thought it was really instructive when he said he wasn't going to do global warming policy or any of this other stuff. So I think he's going to stay in his own lane and not try to mess around with tax policy and what Biden's doing. Now, Biden, what he's doing with raising taxes on the rich and doing all this other stuff is just crazy. Whenever we've raised tax rates on the rich, Neil, whenever we've done that, the economy has slowed, the poor have been hurt the most, and the revenues have fallen. That's the record. That comes out in my book that just came out, Taxes Have Consequences. It documents it every single time from 1914 on. 1913, they raised taxes and revenues did increase. But other than that, they didn't. The economy worsened, and the poor were the most damaged in that group. So why Biden keeps going on this route, it's got to be purely politics and internal politics, not external policy. No one likes a tax increaser.
All right, Art, thank you for that. I'm cutting away from you early, my friend, because Jerome Powell is addressing some of these very issues right now.